Good evening, and welcome to the Monday, May 11th, 2020 Litchfield Board of Selectmen meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30 and ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty and justice for all.
There we go.
First item we have is the review and approval of consent items. We have the April 27th, 2020 meeting minutes. We have the account payroll manifest of May 5th, 2020 in the sum of $1,223,814.02. In May 12th, 2020 in the sum of $51,833.26. We have a payroll manifest of May 7th, 2020 in the sum of $56,654.94. In May 14th, 2020 in the sum of $54,662.12. We have the treasurer's deposit delegation, and we have the timber tax. Just so people watching understand, the account payroll manifest of May 5th, 2020 in the sum of $1,223,814.02 has the school payment in there. That is why for the value. Do we have any items members would like to remove from consent?
No.
Hearing none, I'd like to have a motion to approve the items.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Valeri, second by Mr. Pinciero. All those in favor, Mr. Pinciero?
Aye.
Valeri?
Aye.
Ms. Lascelles?
Aye.
I don't think Mr. Lynch, I think he dropped off. I am also an aye, so it passes 4-0-0. First item of business. Oh, is there any other business members would like to add this evening?
Would you like me to get Mr. Lynch on the phone if I can and plug him in like I did Rich a couple of meetings ago?
Bob, if you could, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Lynch, I'm going to call you. See if he picks up. Hey, can you hear everybody?
No, I can, but I'm off right now. I'm trying to get back on.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Okay, you're going to try and get back on?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back on now. I'm trying to get the headphones in here. Why you guys can't hear me?
Okay.
Looking for them now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the WebEx one, okay?
Mm-hmm. Steve, can you hear him?
Oh,
I can hear him, yes.
Okay.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, then I'll be by phone, okay?
Yeah, you've got my phone, Kevin. You're plugged in like we did with Rich a couple of meetings ago.
Okay, then.
So,
Yep.
all right, if you get out of hand, I'm going to hang up on you.
I love you too.
All right.
Okay, guys.
Steve, are you okay with it?
I am good. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Anybody have any problems with doing it this way? Oh, my goodness. Kevin, turn that off.
Is it me?
All right. There you go.
You know, I think we're better off without Kevin.
Then what? We're on my cell phone.
All right. Do we have any other business members would like to add this evening?
I'd like to add one tonight, and that is at Parker Park. We got to get that tree out of the brook before this summer sometime. Because if the spring, there's going to be a lot of erosion caused by that tree the way it lays.
Okay, we will add Parker Park to the agenda.
Yep.
Mhm.
Dad, I know you hate me, but deal with me.
Okay, public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 p.m. The first item of business this evening is the HVA system. Doug Hume. Mr. Brown.
So Doug Hume is here with us this evening. So he's employee of Affiliated Services, the company that installs the equipment in fall. As you know, they discovered that the return vents, I believe this was the east side, here, they discovered that they were undersized, and they recommended that they changed out, they fitted proper air exchange. There was an estimate proposal of $5,000 to do that work. The Board of Selectmen at the last meeting asked that Selectman Lynch get involved in the project and consult with Affiliated Services, and also asked to get Affiliated Services in to give the board a better explanation of the scope. So that, I'm not sure if Kevin wants to talk or if you want to go right to Mr. Hume, let him explain what they've done, what they've found, why you have it here this evening.
So welcome, Mr. Hume. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Could you give us an overview of the work that you believe needs to be done in order to get the system up to specification?
Yeah, I can. Are we ready for that?
Yep.
Yes, please.
I've been doing work at the town hall for I don't know how many years now, and on the police side, we've always had trouble with the units freezing up or some unusual problems in the heating season. The number one problem in an air conditioning system, or the number one cause for a freeze up, is lack of airflow. As you know, we just changed 3 systems over there, and as we got deep into the system when we were working on it, I noticed that the return duct on the 2 units on the police side just seemed, going by rule of thumb, to be grossly undersized for what the units should be moving. So Kevin Lynch, I asked him for some prints, and he was able to get them. And I think all you guys got a copy of these prints.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can review them later, but I'll try to keep it short. If we, on the town hall side, all the numbers match up. The police side, they don't work. So unit on those prints I gave you, there's a schedule. I think that's on M3. And if you look at unit 4, it's unit 4 is listed in the schedule at a total of 1,000 cubic feet per minute of air. On that schedule, it also says 140 CFM of outside air. So if we follow the prints down from, I think it goes M2 to M1, and we start following that return duct, it only adds up to 270 CFM of return air. So if we put that with that 140, we're only at, what's that, 410 CFM, even though the unit schedule says it's looking for 1,000 CFM. This is why the unit's been freezing up all these years, that there's not enough air coming back to the unit. And number 5 is we could go through it. I got the numbers, but number 5, it's going to be a similar exercise, and you're going to see that the return, we don't have enough return coming back to the unit.
Okay. Okay. Doug, the question I asked at the last meeting was, are you certain or fairly certain that this will actually cure the issue? That it's not something that we're going to put the money into and then still have a problem? Judging on your experience, this is obviously your field.
Yeah. Yes, I'm a technician, not an engineer, guys. So I want to preface the whole thing with that. We do know that we need, at my industry, 350 to 400 CFM per ton. There's no way we're meeting this. Now, again, not being an engineer, am I missing something that the engineers tried to achieve? The reason I give you guys 2 sets of plans is if you look at the set that I labeled mocked up,
yep,
you can see there's been a lot of things added to it. And then if you look at M2, you can see someone wrote in pencil, this is not my writing, it says motor-operated dampers up top, and then you see they drew in these motors on the return and the fresh air of each unit. If Kevin is still on, I don't know if he remembers those motors.
Kevin, you're squeaking again.
Yeah, gentlemen, if I can interrupt, Kevin needs a disconnect from WebEx if he's going to be on the phone with Bob.
Okay. Kevin,
God,
yeah, all right, you off WebEx? You're just on the phone strictly?
I'm just on the phone now, just trying to get back on, but
Okay,
alarm work.
okay, but you can hear okay?
I can hear okay.
Okay.
Like I say, I've been going down to these units many times, and Kevin, how long ago were those motorized dampers taken out? I kind of remember them being there, but abandoned in place.
They were abandoned in place when I first got there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It wasn't very long after I got there. I think they were out before I even got there.
Okay.
Right?
I'm not 100% sure what the engineer or the contractor was trying to achieve with those dampers, and this might be a moot point here, but the only thing I can see that those were trying to do was when the blower shut off on one unit, it prevented the adjacent unit from pulling air through that. So I don't think that's a big deal in what we're trying to achieve. To answer your question, Bob, am I fairly certain? There's a lot of unknowns here that I think maybe Kevin and I'd like to catch up with you again. We should discuss before we just say, let's throw some more duct work at it.
Yeah.
Because I do know that there's been talk of the police department expanding, remodeling, whatever the case may be. But no matter what we do in the town, we need to protect the investment of these new units that we just paid for.
Yep.
Well, Doug,
yeah.
the way I feel right now, we should look at right now. If we don't have enough air going back, we've had icing on that side since I got here. Okay.
Yep.
And it's always iced up. The last police chief said the same thing. He's always had some problems there as well.
Yep.
So I think we'll look at it more, Bobby and Doug and the rest of the board. But I think we've got to keep what's there running a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've already changed out the condensers once.
Yeah. They probably slugged back because we weren't moving enough air over the coil.
Yep.
Now that I have these plans, before we just throw, what was our estimate, $5,000 or something?
Yeah.
What if we we have a device called a hood balometer that I can directly measure the air at the terminals. Let's see what we're actually moving, and then we can do some experiments, like just cut some holes in a plenum with some sheet metal snips to give it some return air and see if that resolves it. More of a test than just throwing $5,000 at it.
Do it. That's how I feel about it. Let's test it.
Yeah, and that was my big reason behind wanting you to come in and talk to us, Doug. You would be able to answer questions that we don't have knowledge of. I'm very limited in this myself. I mean, if you want to paint the ductwork, I'm your guy, but outside of that.
I don't know if my bosses are listening, but I question my knowledge also, but.
Okay.
So Doug, every time we have a freeze up, how much does that degrade the system?
Quite a bit in many ways. Just in the physical aspect, the inside of the coils have an insulation or a sound attenuation, and every time that ice grows into it and then falls off, we lose a little bit of that insulation value. At unit number 4, before we changed it, there was so little insulation left that the exterior of that evaporator was just dripping water all the time. There were auxiliary pans put underneath. That's the easy part. The bad part is the refrigerant has to boil in that coil. It boils at a low temperature. It has to go back to the compressor as a vapor, the condensing unit outside. If we don't boil all refrigerant in the coil and it goes back as a liquid, as soon as that piston comes up, like on the air compressor on your paint gun, you get any liquid in there, you've destroyed the compressor.
Yep.
And that's the problem with not enough air over the coil.
Yep. It's
about as bad as it gets. And in the heating season, guys, you don't move enough air over the heat exchanger, it's going to cycle on its limit. In time, you're going to stress that heat exchanger and it's going to crack, and you're going to have to either replace the heat exchanger or the furnace, plus wasting energy dollars.
Okay, so based on that, I feel it's something we got to go look at as soon as possible, especially with having the 3 new units just put in.
Absolutely. The town side has really never been an issue with airflow, and we can do this not over the screen here, but at another time we can maybe sit down together with a mask on, or however this is going to work out. The town side, the numbers all add up. There's no discrepancy from return to supply. I don't know what happened on the police side. Kevin informed me that originally those were going to be air handlers with boilers. So maybe in the change, the engineer lost something in the translation. Because to me, it looks, what I could see, the system was designed as installed, but the math just didn't work out.
Okay. Thank you. Gentlemen, do we have any other questions?
No. Yes, I have a couple. This is Rich Lascelles.
Hey, Rich.
Is this used in the non-heating season?
Yes, these are heating cooling units, Rich.
Okay, so we'll probably be using them minorly for the next month or so, and then summer's on the 4th of July. So the 5th of July, then we're going to need heat, right?
We'll be pumping AC before then, I'm sure.
Yeah, this is the what we call the shoulder season right now. Not a lot of heat, not a lot of cooling.
Yeah.
It's still winter.
Okay, and
Still, yes.
does the town have any recourse toward the engineer on this?
After 20 years, I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's a nice thought, though.
Yeah, that building was built over 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And was
I have-
did this happen from the beginning?
To me, it looks like it happened from the beginning. And I actually went to some classes with the engineer years ago. Mr. Turner has passed away, so I don't know what you're going to get out of that.
If we delay this repair, will there be any damage done to what we've already replaced?
We definitely could damage another compressor. Yes.
So by delaying this is not a good idea.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
But we should do a test first, right? And see what we need to do, if we need to do this, and how it's going to work. Is that right?
Yes. We can take this hood bolometer. We can measure return and supply. It's very easy to do, non-invasive. If we think we have a lack of return, we can just cut the back of the plenum out, make a hole.
Yeah.
It's going to suck some air, not from the right place, but it's going to suck air and prove our point.
It's going to help it. Yeah. Okay. Right.
When can this test be done?
I'm not the boss. Very quickly.
Okay, that's sufficient. Thank you.
Troy get with whomever he needs to in order to schedule it.
Yeah. Rich, do you have any more questions?
No, that's
You
satisfied.
You okay with the test, with doing the test to see where we're at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a cost to that, Bob?
I don't know, Doug.
I think because we're going to we most likely will get the project to change the ductwork. If we find that's the case, I think we can kind of again, my bosses are listening. I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm saying a couple hours for the town is probably going to be, we can probably take care of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, Doug.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, Troy, so you'll reach out and get that on the docket for us? Thank you.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen, we have any more questions for Doug?
No, I think that's it. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
Doug,
coming
thank
in.
you for joining us this
Sorry,
evening, and Troy will be reaching out.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
Be
it.
well, be safe.
All right.
The next item on the agenda is police cruiser with Chief Sergeant, Mr. Brown.
All right, just a quick introduction. I believe Chief Sergeant is here with us this evening. The chief has been informing me about police cruisers that were budgeted budget this year, and of course we've got we're taking action about no spending freeze on non-essential items. So the chief and myself were sort of not really clear as to what the board's position was on whether or not the purchase of the police cruiser was essential or not. But just to add more to the problem, what we've learned, and the chief will explain, is that there is a problem with an inventory of police cruisers. So it's actually extremely difficult to get your hands on a police cruiser at this point in time. We don't know what the impact of COVID-19 has, long-term effect in the manufacturing of these cruisers. So we could be in a situation where we could be out more than a year of inventory on these cruisers. So I'll let the chief take over, explain to you what he knows and what's driven this, and as far as concerned, inventory I think he has found. So chief, I'll let you continue to explain the situation.
Welcome, Chief.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, honorable board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about this need for the police department. Mr. Brown highlighted that there's an inventory shortage as it relates to General Motors products, specifically these police package Tahoes. Currently, 4 of our 5 frontline vehicles are the police package Tahoes. We have 1 Ford Explorer that we are looking to replace. And I'd like to provide you with a little bit of history. And we anticipated this shortage at the beginning of the year, as we learned that in 2019, General Motors experienced an employee strike. And this employee strike had a significant impact on their manufacturing. And in fact, it delayed the making of these 2020 police Tahoes. And as a result of the strike, the plant closed down for 3 months. Following that, slowly the plant started to reopen, production started to move forward, and that is when the COVID-19 struck. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, GM started manufacturing ventilators, and at that point, they announced that their plants would be closed indefinitely. Yep. So there's a limited supply for these 2020 vehicles, and there's a very high demand for them. In considering the shortage, as a department, we reached out to the current sales rep that we utilize from McMokin Chevrolet in Nashua. We were constantly in contact via email, telephone, working to see what the availability was to line ourselves up with 1 vehicle. We really struggled with that, and we weren't able to get product. We did end up making contact with 2 separate dealerships who provided bids much higher than the state bids. And it was we wanted to jump on it because we didn't know when we'd see these vehicles again, but we felt that the prices that we were being quoted weren't fair, and we had faith in McMokin Chevrolet that we could do better. We've continued to move forward. Last week, we had a dealership reach out to us. They felt that they could provide us with a police vehicle, and again, their quote was too high. We didn't feel that it was fair, felt that they were taking advantage of the current situation and the need for towns to purchase these vehicles. We reached out to our representatives at McMokin Chevrolet, who informed the department earlier this afternoon that he did have a vehicle specifications perfect for what we need and could be in compliance with the state bid. So what I wanted to share with you is that what's budgeted for in the police budget is $48,000. In that cost is the purchase of the vehicle and to outfit it with emergency equipment, to strike the vehicle, and that $48,000 would cover the expense. In working with McMokin Chevrolet, based on the price that they would sell the vehicle to the town for, trade that they're giving for the current, what I would call Car 13, the vehicle that we're looking to take off of a front line and trade in, $6,500 for a trade, and then to outfit the vehicle based on last year's specs, we would be at $42,478 to purchase the vehicle and completely outfit it to put it on the front line. That comes under budget by $5,522. So although the savings isn't great, there is some savings, and provided that there weren't any unforeseen accidents or the need to replace a vehicle, that money could be returned back to the board, the taxpayers, to handle whatever needs they need to handle. I feel passionate that this is a need for our agency. Number one, there's a need because there's an inventory shortage. Number two, I always consider the safety of our police officers. These are the officers that are responding to all of our emergency calls. Their emergency operations of the police vehicles involves speed, fast braking, evasive driving. And as vehicles get older, with high mileage, maintenance issues, and the significant amount of idle time for these vehicles that are in operation 16, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, they begin to wear and wear. I also think that as vehicles such as the Ford Explorer that I'd like to trade in to help purchase this Tahoe, is that we open ourselves up to maintenance issues because certain things are not under warranty anymore. And I was speaking with our fleet manager earlier today, who expressed to me a big concern would be powertrain driveline issues that aren't covered under warranty. And for a vehicle that's going into its fourth year on the front line, has high mileage, that we could incur some expenses that if we traded it in now, well, we can get that $6,500 for it. It helps offset the cost. I think Mr. Brown made a great point in highlighting the concern is if we do not acquire this vehicle, I foresee that we'd have to wait an undetermined amount of time because, one, we'd have to wait for the reopening of the General Motors and then for production to resume. So I foresee that it would be into late 2021 or maybe even 2022 where we could get this necessary vehicle. And I want to share with you what this exercise in reviewing maintenance records, learning more about the Tahoe compared to the Explorers, it's really helped me to appreciate the value of the Chevy Tahoe product. And because of this, what I'd like to do is I'd like to reevaluate how we keep a cruiser and utilize it as a frontline vehicle and how long. Typically, the Ford product, we were able to get 2.5, 3 years, little over 3 years before it was time to turn the vehicle in. Reviewing the maintenance records of the Tahoes, speaking with the officers, how they handle, it's a great product. I believe, and in speaking again with our fleet manager, who's far more expertise in vehicle maintenance and automobiles, I believe there's the potential to run these vehicles for 4 years as a frontline vehicle and maybe potentially up to 5 years. So what that causes me to do is to determine, is there a better way to purchase cruisers that could provide some relief to the taxpayers without ever jeopardizing the safety of our officers? And giving some thought into that, if I were able to get the blessing of this board to purchase this vehicle that is ready for your Litchfield police officers and for the town, where typically we run on what we call the 2-1-2-1. There was an unwritten agreement or an understanding is that that's how the department would proceed. I think myself and other members of the command staff could look at our Tahoes that are going into their second, third, and one would be going into their fourth year. What does that look like? And what adjustments could we make? Maybe it's not necessary to buy two because we have Tahoes and their life will last longer. So I think with your blessing, this will set us up in a better position to make good financial decisions that pertain to the budget, that are palatable to the selectmen, the budget committee, and our citizens. I thank you for your time, and I would really appreciate your support and your authorization to purchase this vehicle.
Thank you, Chief. Just for my own knowledge, what are the years of the vehicles we have right now with the Tahoes?
I believe one is, give me 1 second, sir. One Tahoe is a 2018. The other three are 2019.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, do we have any questions for the chief?
One question, Chief, this is Rich Lascelles. I'm just curious. You obviously like the Tahoe over the Explorer. What is it that makes the Tahoe a better performer for you?
It's your personal cell phone anyway.
First of all, analyzing the maintenance costs for the vehicles that we have, and again, these are newer vehicles, but as you compare them to a second-year Ford Explorer, there's less maintenance costs. From an officer perspective and thinking about officer safety, it provides the officer with the ability to move around the vehicle, their mobile office, I would call it. They're able to place emergency equipment that's more easily accessible to them. I would share the exercise when we walked through the police department last year and the budget committee selectmen. We went out and we compared the Explorer to the Tahoe. Mr. Brown, I think you can even remember sitting in that Tahoe, noticing how much more comfortable it was, how much more easily an officer who's wearing a vest, 15 pounds of gear around their belt, it's more comfortable, it's a more efficient vehicle, and it also, long term, it's going to hold its value much better than these Ford Explorers.
So it's a matter not only of size, but is it also more heavy duty?
My understanding now, I've driven these just, across town or over to get an oil change or whatnot. It functions better. It handles better in snowstorms. The emergency driving, speaking with the officers, they find that it definitely handles better. And those are the reports that are coming back to me. So it's a better quality vehicle for our officers, for their emergency response operations of the vehicle. I think it's just a much better product.
I was just thinking about the longevity of it. A vehicle that is more heavy duty generally will last longer, but I was just wondering if there was anything else.
No, I think we would just, I think what we see, what is trending with the lack of maintenance issues and how these are handling, I think that would speak to that they would last longer. And that's an exercise that I would like to take part in and see if they can efficiently and safely stay on the front line to get another year or longer out of them. And again, being that 2018, so this is going into year 3, is the oldest Tahoe. It's still a new product to me in terms of its longevity.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Lascelles.
Yeah. And the Tahoes are built stronger than the Explorers. The Explorers are more of a family car, whereas the Tahoe is built for things like towing and more heavy-duty situations. The Explorers have actually gotten quite a bit smaller over the last few years, even the Interceptors. What I noticed in the night that we did the walkthrough was the policemen that would get into the Tahoe actually had some room to turn, look at his computer, do whatever, but in the Explorers, they were very tight. Rich,
Correct.
to put in the term that Rich would understand, it'd be like you trying to sit in a Volkswagen.
Oh, that wasn't nice.
Where's Jerry Millette when we need him?
Oh my gosh, not Jerry.
Aren't they a lot heavier than the Ford
Yes,
in total weight? Yeah.
they're a much nicer vehicle.
Is there a possibility we could approve this tonight so the chief could move forward?
Definitely, just need a motion.
I'd like to make,
I'm sorry, Jack. Point of
go
reference,
ahead.
Steve. This money's already been approved. I mean, what we stated was that, other than like emergency situations, we're trying not to spend the money, but this is something that he's already got in the budget, right? So do we have to
It
approve?
is, but I think we should just give him the authority to negotiate directly with the vendor.
Mhm.
That way, the chief will know that he has our blessing to go off and do this.
Yeah, I don't know about that at all. I think it's a great idea, but I just didn't know if it needed a motion or not. But we can do it if you want to clean it up. Yeah.
I think we should. That way, the chief will know that he has our blessing behind it.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to give the authorization to the chief.
We have a motion by Mr.
I'll
Pinciero,
second it. I'll second
a
it.
second by Mr. LaSalle. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Leary,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle,
Aye.
Mr. Lynch,
Aye.
Mr. Pinciero.
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. Thank you, Chief, for all the information this evening and everything you do.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you, and I want to thank the board in its entirety for your understanding, for taking the time to hear me speak to this issue, and thank you again for your constant support. Stay safe, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Take care.
Chief. Be
Take
well.
care.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Seeing that it is 7:07, we'd like to open it up for public input. Do we have any members of the public on the line? Mr. Brunel?
I do not see any members of the public.
Okay, therefore we will close public input, and our next agenda is,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Mr. LaSalle.
Mr. Chairman, is the police chief still on the line?
Don't see him.
Yes, I am.
Oh.
I am here, Mr.
Well,
LaSalle.
I was going to make a joke. I have a birthday coming up. I expect a parade.
Hey, there was one today. There was one right across the street from me for Mr. Sun. His daughter, I think it's Hannah.
Well, let me know the next time. I'll go out and stand there.
There you go. Yeah, I was weeding my
I'm-
asparagus, and all of a sudden,
I was just kidding, Chief. I was hoping you weren't on the line.
Well, I'm going to now do some.
he's got a sense of humor.
Well, I'm not going to forget that. I can assure you of that.
My birthday's not till October, so don't worry about it.
Oh, no, I do worry. So we'll look forward to a nice little parade going by.
Geez, I had
Thanks,
one.
Chief. Have a great evening. The next
right,
item
take
we
care.
have is the CARES. Thank you. The next item is the CARES grant acceptance, $203,760. Mr. Brown?
I think a lot of us are all aware that the governor made the announcement last week that there was $32 million for the COVID-19 that is going to go directly towards municipal relief. One of the things that came out of this was they've authorized, it's an optional basis, town by town, city by city, to offer hazard pay to our first responders. So we have, making the assumption that the board would approve that, we have gone ahead and worked with our police department, fire department, both chiefs, and we have put together the information that the grant program required and have submitted that. Our plan is, if the board accepts this pay the hazard pay on a weekly basis. So as of right now, the program would last for 8 weeks and 2 days. If this is approved, we would make the first payments next week, which would include this week's hazard pay and 2 weeks hazard pay. And then from that point, every week for full-timers would be $300. The amount that's been awarded to the town of Litchfield is just over $200,000. So this is not all directly related to hazard pay. The intent and purpose of this money is to make up for all of the expenses that the town has incurred, which is eligible for reimbursement, that the FEMA program will not cover. So items like where we've expanded hours of operation down at the solid waste facility, the overtime that we've allowed, or extra hours that we've allowed our building custodian to work, to come through and being every night. Those types of expenses, along with personal protective, all of that kind of stuff is eligible for reimbursement. As you know, we have our town capital. It's a pretty aggressive program. The first deadline is June 1st. And March 1st and April, so the March and April expenses, you need to have all that package is submitted on June 1st to be eligible for reimbursement. If we don't do that, then we lose out on the opportunity for reimbursement. And then that it's set out. The next submittal is July the 15th, and the final one is September the 15th. I'm not sure if this program will be extended or not, but as of right now, the program is covers up to August 31st.
So any expenses COVID related from March 1st to August 31st.
You want it?
It does. The one thing that, I know we've talked a lot about is loss of revenue. But this program and the FEMA funds, both programs will not provide relief for any loss of revenue. Still monitored. But we do need to have a motion to accept these funds, and also prepared a motion to include the hazard pay for the first responders to apply and accept it. So, if you want, I'll suggest a motion, and I would recommend that you move to accept $203,760 for the CARES Act Flex in accordance with RSA 21P43. Eligible 19 related expenses incurred from March 1st, 2020 to August 31st, 2020, up to and including hazard pay for first responders, and to authorize the town administrator to apply for and accept any COVID-19 related grant.
Thank you. So do we have a motion based off of what Mr. Brown read?
I have a question.
I would,
Go ahead, Mr. Pinciero.
Does this include the people at the landfill that are working every day, it seems, to help the people with their trash?
Does not. Public work right now, Public Works Department employees, solid waste employees are not covered or not an eligible expense through this program. However, I can tell you that the New Hampshire Municipal Association is aware of concerns out there, closely monitoring the situation, providing some input. I know that the New Hampshire Public Works Association, I think I saw some emails today where they're reaching out to the governor's office. And I'm hopeful that the governor will hear those things. He's been very responsive to the municipalities and cities, and I do think that they'll expand the eligibility criteria and classify our public works and solid waste employees as first responders as well. But as of right now, the way the program's written, the guidelines we're following, it's not an eligible reimbursement.
I think it would be pertinent to ask Mr. Brown to write a letter to the governor on behalf of the Board of Selectmen requesting that change. Is that a possibility?
Certainly is responsible. Yeah, definitely. We could have Mr. Brown do that on behalf of the board for us.
Mhm.
Because I really do think that, they're a crucial part of the first responders that we have right now. And I'm hoping it was just an oversight, by the governor not to include them within the, whole entire package.
I agree with you 100%, and I hope that we can move forward. If you need a motion, I'll be more than happy to make it.
I don't think we need any motion. Mr. Brown, you'll do that for our behalf, please? Sure. Okay, he will do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think
What I
Rich
do
would
need is if
make a motion. I think
Rich, you
Rich
were-
Rich is going to motion.
Yeah,
So, Sal?
I'd like to make it, yes, I'd like to make that motion to accept the money and proceed with the payment of the first responders and for us to pursue expanding the list to the recycling
Yep.
center employee.
I'll
I'll
second.
second
Okay, we have
that.
a motion.
Okay.
We have a motion by Mr. LaSalle, a second by Mr. Pinciero. Do we have any other further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Larry?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Mr. Pinciero?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0.
In addition to that, on Wednesday, I think I'm gonna be on a teleconference with the governor, and I can possibly put a bug in his ear at that point.
That would
If
be
you could,
great.
that'd be greatly appreciated.
Very good. That'd be awesome, Rich.
Yep. Absolutely.
The next item is the review of the town seal policy. Mr. Brown?
All right, I just wanted, at our last meeting, this came up about the veterans that had a request that they would like to use the town seal. And I just wanted to make sure that the Board of Selectmen were aware that we do have a town seal policy. It's been adopted by this board. And I'm not sure if on the portal, if you look down, scroll all the way down, you'll see a PDF file, and you can click on that. But the purpose of the policy is making sure that no one uses the policy, the town seal, without prior approval from the Board of Selectmen.
Mhm.
In the town seal, the allowed uses are limited to, again, subject to the Board of Selectmen approval, things like letterheads and envelopes that town officials, boards, and committees use, business cards for various town officials, the checks that we issue payment on, publication of the annual report, publications of various regulations and ordinances of the town, logos that are used with departments, for example, the fire department, police department all have logos, the highway department does. So they'll incorporate the town seal into their own department logo. To wear the town seal on their clothing, mark our vehicles with the town seal. We use it on the website. We don't do it here, but I've seen it in other towns where street signs and other informational signs like our welcome to Litchfield, you'll see the town seal. As I mentioned, probably one of the most important things is the official ballot used by the town and the school. And the purpose of the town seal, and I think it's clearly set out in this policy, that it's a symbol of official business of the town. And people learn to recognize the town seal. They know that when they see the town seal, that this is, this is an official employee of the town. It's property, like a plow truck or fire truck, that is town property. Any correspondence that comes from a town department has a town seal on it. They know it's official. So it's very important that we maintain our identity and that we don't confuse it with other entities. I believe that's why this town adopted the policy. I've also shared with you that this issue came up not long ago, and we had reached out to our legal counsel asking what their opinion was about allowing other groups to use the town seal in conjunction with their own agency's identity. And they highly recommended that the board not take that type of action, just because if you did, you need to be very, very, well, you need to understand that if you allow one group, then you really should be required to allow all groups. And although there's one group that's out there doing great work, they have all these great intentions, there are other groups that this board may not necessarily agree with the message that they're trying to send to the community or the beliefs of those organizations. And again, you know, you can't pick one agency over another. My greatest concern is not that. My greatest concern is just maintaining the integrity of the seal. And that residents know that when they see that town seal, that is 100% town property, town employee, town vehicle.
I should have never brought it up.
Their town. So that's what I have to offer. It came up last weekend and the last meeting, and I know the board wanted to talk about this. I just wanted to give a little background.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. You know, reading the email that came back from legal, she does clearly define that if we allow one group, we have to allow all groups. You know, and as much as I really support the veterans, I mean, we need to decide what we want to do concerning the policy of the town seal.
No.
You know, it
is important.
It's a tough spot.
I don't know if I did point out, but I think I did. But just I do want to point out, the town seal policy does allow
yes.
the Board of Selectmen to authorize use of the town seal. Very
Let me ask you this: as an alternative to the town seal, the new town flag has the seal on it, but it's in the form of a flag. Could we offer that as an alternative?
Well, the next item on our agenda this evening is going to be a policy for the town flag, because as of right now, we do not have a policy for the town flag. So, I mean, we could, depending on the will of the board, we could write the town flag policy different than the town seal policy.
Because let me ask you this, Troy. Based upon what legal counsel gave us, the town flag has the seal on it, but it would be my thought that it wouldn't hold the same power as the seal itself placed on a memorandum or something.
Yeah, I know this discussion came up last week, and I think you're going to find yourself sort of in the same recommendations, same guidance from legal counsel about the town flag. I think that the other greater concern is that the town flag is official, and it was presented and adopted by the residents of this town. So, I think that's what the residents adopted. And if they saw that that flag was altered in any way, I think someone could have an actual concern about the fact that the town flag's been altered.
You know, and if we allow one group, we can't differentiate between groups.
No.
No, but I mean
If there was a group that I would think would be allowed, would be the veterans, myself.
and as Bob, as you know, I support that 100%. I just don't
Yeah.
want to leave us in a position that,
Mhm.
going down the road, we can put ourselves in conflict.
That's true.
I can understand the concern about the seal. The seal is, denotes it denotes something official,
Mhm.
where, like, I own a flag, a town flag, and I plan to display it on the front of my house. Now, no one would say that town flag, they know it's not the town hall, but
Mhm.
I have an American flag out there, so I understand the concern about the seal, but I don't necessarily share that about the flag.
Mhm.
So
I
maybe what we
also,
should do.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay.
Go ahead, Jack.
I also have a flag, an American flag and a town flag flying right at this moment in my front yard.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
And it
damn
looks
proud
good.
of.
Looks great.
Boy.
So maybe what we could do is, have Mr. Brown get with legal counsel concerning the town flag and seeing what type of policy or what their opinion is on the town flag. Since there is no policy, is there a way of developing a policy that would allow groups to use that?
Yeah. Another question that might be asked on this was the town flag, wasn't that designed by a resident, Heidi Miller? So what about copyright issues? Does she own the copyright issues, or has she signed that over to the town? If not, you might be looking at a case where she could be the one that decides where it gets flown and where it doesn't.
Yeah, I believe she
Robert?
did the seal and the flag was done by Matt Lepore.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how that all went from the adoption. Did they grant it over to the town?
Mhm.
That's a good question to go investigate.
But the town did officially adopt
The flag.
the town flag, correct?
Correct. Yes, via warrant.
Yep.
And I guess I want to make sure I understand. Anyone can fly the town flag on their property. Is that what's being questioned here?
No, not at all. Can we write a policy in the way that the town flag could be used by a group
With their own.
with their own modification logo put onto it and so forth? Because the seal, as you said, we do have it on our letterhead, we have it on our envelopes, all of our town vehicles.
Mhm.
The flag is not displayed that way. So is there something we could do from a policy standpoint on the flag that would allow?
I think legal counsel, it's worth having legal counsel weigh in. Again, I think the response can be very similar. I also think that due to the fact that the flag was adopted, it was described, and purpose, intent was for, and is adopted by the residents by vote.
Mhm.
I don't know, who has the authority now to grant that flag.
Mhm.
Okay. But it's something we can go and investigate.
Yes.
Okay. How does the board feel? Should we have Mr. Brown go off and investigate and come back on legal counsel's input?
That would be my thought.
Mhm. Yeah. I would go along with that. I do like Rich's idea, though, to let them use the flag. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think they are a worthy group and they're a veteran group. I mean, they've served their country, served the town, done whatever. And if there's a group to let use it, I would think this would be the group.
I agree 100%.
I
would
echo
agree.
you.
Mhm.
I would agree, but I
Mhm.
would say that it behooves us to have a policy that would apply to everyone,
Mhm.
and that if it would be possible to allow groups to use the flag. Maybe we say upon the approval of the select board.
Yep.
But we need to have a policy that reflects that.
And I think if we make it upon approval of the select board, we should have a policy on how we say yay or nay, because we don't want to get into a point where we're going to be accused of discriminating.
Yep.
And when Mr. Brown goes to legal, we should have them voice their thoughts on that.
Fully agree.
Okay.
Have any additional discussion?
Oh, I think we killed two birds with one stone there.
I think so. The next item would have been the town flag policy, but really not much to talk about. Combine the two together. So we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the highway building. Mr. Brown.
Okay, I believe in maybe it was our last meeting or 2 meetings ago, I brought to your attention that first this winter we discovered that we were having some concerns with the large clear span structure at the highway garage, but also the small clear span structure. So we had Iron Horse, which was the highly recommended company, come out and conduct an assessment, and it was upon their recommendation that they place the back panel on the small clear span structure. That panel had been torn and practically just flapping in the wind. And then they went and installed some belt tension, some tension wires, and just tightened everything up. Added maybe a little bit more support, but all of that was $6,000. But while they were doing this work, they brought to our attention that the large clear span structure, they felt that the span between the truss systems was too great, and really concerned about snow load and potential collapse. So the current span right now is 20 feet on center. They were recommending that it be 10 feet. So we said, okay, well, why don't you put together a proposal to be able to address this work, and we'll take it under review and consideration. So April the 13th, this came back to the highway department, and the proposal you'll see is, has a price tag of $46,000. The work that the scope of work was they have to remove the entire fabric from the building and install 4 truss systems to get it down to a 10-foot on center. And then you put the fabric back on and all the belt tensioners. So I had no idea that the work was going to have a price tag at this cost. And I brought it to the board's attention, and I know that the board at that point in time, this was all new information too, and really just asked that more research be done, asked that, maybe we can get Selectmen Lynch to get involved and take a look at this as well. And I know that some selectmen, in fact, all of you, since that meeting have gone down and met with Mr. Brown, Kevin Brown, and I think we've actually seen the building itself as well. So had some conversations with Kevin. So this is where we're at, and I just wanted to, have a follow-up discussion about this, because the building's not that old. It's 2015. We have a lot of equipment that's stored underneath it, and the last thing we want, which this building occurred once before, is that we have a collapse in the middle of January when we're in the middle of our snow removal emergency responses to different types of equipment.
I'd like to comment on this
Right now,
building.
What's that?
Go, Jack.
I did some research. They're talking $46,000 to put in 4 truss. The only thing that I find that building needs, which I had done for years as it was put up, and the previous one collapsed because the concrete block got snow against it and it rolled. That pulled the building down. The truss of the building didn't collapse. The building sides collapsed. This building needs to be tightened every 6 months. There's a ratchet strap that goes around a pole on the bottom. That needs to be tightened. The hurricane cable system that ties the purlins together. Every year I was told it's feasible to go up and take care of that. Getting back to the price of $46,000, a brand new 42 by 63 building, basically like the one we're talking about in steel, is only $22,950. That's directly out of their catalog. Along with a 55 by 75 is $30,895. The snow load is 20 inches of snow per square foot. The price is outrageous. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I'm not in favor of even discussing.
That's actually a question I was going to bring up is what would the cost of a new building be versus this one? That's something that I think we need to consider.
Well, these are prices that I got directly off their website. You can go to their website. It's called clearspan.com.
I'll go on there.
If you go to the cement blocks, and I didn't bring that up, we found that there are steel plates that are attached to each block, locking each block together. That was something that the company itself, Clearspan, said you need to do to keep that from happening. They didn't have that when that other building was put up. The other building was a lighter building. It was only about a 4-inch pipe truss. This building is considerably more. That's just information for everybody.
I'd like to speak to this too, please.
Kevin?
Yes, hi. I'm in concurrence with the cost. I feel is ridiculous. But also, the building itself is there. You need to maintain those buildings. The snow load is good. Only every once in a while, all membrane structures, they're not designed for a lot of snow. They never will because they're dome. The snow will slide off 99% of the time. You have to maintain around the outside edge. You get the snow away from the building so it'll slide down. It doesn't push in on the sides. I think we just maintain the building the way it is now. We'll be fine for a good many years. We got to maintain it, okay? The other thing is a row of trees on the west side. There's some pine trees in there. Those should come out and let the sun get at it from that side. The only issue we have there with snow is on the west side. That's because the sun couldn't get to it. There's only in 2 storms that we had to actually touch the snow and it came down. Okay, this is not unusual. So I don't think it's necessary to go out and rebuild this thing. What I think is necessary is us to maintain it a little better. Jack's right. We got to get in there, pull the stitches, crank it up. That's on the big building. As for the small building, that's a new tent on it. The other one corroded. So just fixing that was great. But for the big building, I think it's in good shape. You just got to maintain it. And I want to look at the specs a little bit more. And I'm sorry I wasn't there at the last meeting. So I was trying to get things done. I haven't got that done yet. I got to find some stuff. But Clearspan, I know I've been online myself. I think we're in good shape with that. Okay? Thank you.
So my biggest concern is, from a liability standpoint, do we know that building meets the building code zone for New England? And the reason I ask that question, if we have equipment that's in there or employees and it caves in, are we going to be liable for anything? And will we be able to collect insurance? So if they come back and that building is not to the zone that it should be from a construction standpoint, we may put ourselves in a bad position. So my first question would be, is that building built for the snow load that we see in New England?
No dome building.
And if it's not, I don't think we should be utilizing it with equipment under it or people under it until we have something that does meet the building codes for a New England environment.
There's sure a lot of them in New England.
Well, here's my thing. I believe when I was looking at it, those buildings, they're just spec buildings. And then based off of if you're in Hurricane, if you're in Montana or where you are, you add accessories to them in order to meet the local building code.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my question. Was it put up to meet the code of New England weather?
I don't know if there is a
Because I'm concerned about the liability of our employees and our equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tend to agree with you. But I can't answer that. I tried to research any type of building codes. And I never really got into it where anybody would really come up with anything. I've noticed that there's a lot of state buildings like that that they use for salt. When that building was put up, 3 of them were put up in Durham. I think at the college, at the farm. They're used everywhere. They're not only used, that's not the only one in the state. I bet you there's 100 of them or more. But I did
I've seen
do
them around a lot of places. I
Yeah.
just didn't know if we ever modified it based off the
No.
kit that they sell in order to meet the zoning.
They sent us, the insurance company looked into it. The building that was up there previously wasn't built like that particular building. It didn't have the I want to say, the round section that goes up. There's bridging, that's the word, bridging that supports that. And that's why the insurance company authorized to get that. They paid for that and the upgrade, because that was a big time upgrade. That building was probably twice as much as the previous building that went down. Mm-hmm. So I can't answer that question. I don't know. But we may want to, if we're looking to do anything there, we should probably look at building them a permanent structure, which is what should have been built years ago, but we never had the money to do it.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, do you know anything about the codes for those things? Yep. What do you see?
Well, since snow does not stick, to speak up, it slides off. The code takes that into consideration all the time because it's a hoop.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with wind, it's a flex off. It's like in the face.
Mm-hmm.
So there's judgment there in the code. Mm-hmm. Example of this, the dome in Hampshire Hills in Milford.
Yep.
Okay, that's a membrane structure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's just pumped full of air. Mm-hmm. This has got air too. Okay, but it's got steel frame to it. That frame is no different than a greenhouse. Okay, or the other one we got down in Wilson's now. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the same idea.
Yep.
The snow slides off it. The snow doesn't stick; it slides most of the time on those. Just like in a greenhouse, they slide. In the wintertime, they're not being used. So I see right now we just got to maintain and do some adjustment. Mm-hmm. If we need to go further into some engineering, there are other ways of doing this as well. Okay, ripping it down and putting extra pieces, I don't see that a problem. As for the liability, it's got to be maintained. If you get a snowstorm, you got to look at what's happening around. Is it piling up on the sides? Because it's going to go in the sides first. You got to maintain around the building like we do our roads. And the same thing with the dome in Milford. They got to maintain that all the time. All these buildings you do, unless you build a high concrete wall to turn them on. Okay, then that's not an issue. But 99% of the time, the snow will slide. If it doesn't, go in the inside, you touch it. It's like it just slides off. It's full, one spot. Maintenance, that's all it is.
Do you remember when you came down, Kevin, and made me plow both sides of that? And after that, we never had any buildup on the building.
That's right. You gotta plow it. And remember, that's all falling down. It leans up against the side. You gotta get it out of there. Now, Jack's right. The proper structure would have been simple pole barn. Okay, like we built down at the Dara Pond. Something like that, and just put some tin around it. Okay? But that's another cover all by itself, guys. I think we're good. I want to look at the building design a little bit better. Troy knows that. I came in to get the plans and stuff, but I've been down. I'm starting to get back on my feet. Okay?
He sees you not maintaining.
Okay, Kevin, could you also look in to see if the manufacturer comes up with any ways to maintain it?
I will
In
look
snowy
into
conditions, do they recommend a plow around it? What are their recommendations, to help alleviate some of the snow load?
I'll look into those too for you.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
No.
Okay.
Think we're
Hearing
done.
none. Now we are on to tax warrants. Mr. Brown.
I just wanted to give the board an update. Learned last week, Avatar Assessing had contacted our office that due to the COVID-19 situation, they're actually behind on their work, where they're out in the community, doing those pickups, all that, construction, building permits, and picking up all that property changes evaluation. So they're probably they're working tomorrow. Going to be in town tomorrow. They'll also be in town doing part of the annual update, just driving down the street, just doing data verification. Really, just they're not stepping outside their car. They're being on the road. Car will be parked, and they'll be contacting the police department to make sure that they're out there. But it looks like our ability to have the first tax warrant and deliver it to the tax collector will be delayed this year. State law does require May the 15th. We have missed it for other reasons in the past. I have informed the tax collector about this, so she is aware. So I'm just here for just informational purposes to the board. If the board, I asked what we could do to get the tax bill out on time, and they said, well, we could just go with what we have in the database right now, but that would mean that homeowners would pick up in their second tax bill, they would pick up all those new costs, and it could be a large bill, especially if it's new construction. Down there at the Weatherstone development, they wouldn't receive much of a tax bill in June or July. They would receive 100% of it in December. So I actually think it's probably wise at this point in time to go ahead, let Avatar finish their work. Let's get the database up to date and then proceed with the tax.
Okay. I believe we have on the line tonight our town clerk, tax collector, Mrs. Briand. Do you have anything to add?
I agree with Troy. I think we should wait. I think sending out supplemental tax bills is going to be a mess if we wait a week or two, as him and I discussed. I think that they'll still be out, they'll be, the end of the first week in July or the first week, the second week in July, and I think we're better off waiting.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gentlemen, do we have any comments or questions?
Yes, Terry, if it would be a help to you, you can just skip me this year.
I'll put you on the list, Rich.
He's on the do not call list.
Right.
Just if that would help.
Okay.
One less workload.
Right.
Do we have any other comments or questions?
Yay.
So that would make us how many weeks later than normal, Terry?
Normally I usually I've always had it by the 15th of the month. It's still due July 1st. They're running a little behind. As I've already spoken to our printer, they're ready. They've ordered everything that they have to order. I think it's only going to be a week or possibly at the most 2 weeks behind. I think that's, Troy, you agree with that?
I do.
Okay. I think we're going to be.
A week
Terry
or
and I
2
were
weeks?
discussing the delay. It could actually work out. Obviously, there's cash flow issues when the quicker we get our tax bill out, we start receiving payment, and it helps with cash flow. But, in terms of as we start trying to reopen town government and the 4th of July holiday and everything, it may actually turn out a better benefit to the residents and the town staff that the delay.
Should we post a notice on the town website letting individuals know that we'll be delayed by a week or two?
We can, yeah.
At least keep them notified.
Typically, I can. They usually, they respond to receiving that tax bill. And everyone's going to panic if they don't receive the bill.
I don't think anyone's begging for them.
As a courtesy, we could do it.
And I think it's always good to keep them informed.
Yeah, best to inform them if we can on this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do we have any other comments or questions?
It just goes to show you that two things certain in life, death and taxes, and even COVID can't stop taxes.
Oh.
Right.
No matter what.
Well, thank you, Terry. Greatly appreciate you being online this evening and for helping out with this situation.
You are very welcome.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, you too.
Be well. The next item is administrator report. Mr. Brown.
All right, so since our last meeting, we talked about the radio project and the financing and getting the project contracts in place so the construction could begin. So John Burnell, myself, we've been working pretty much on a daily basis between the two vendors, Two-Way Communication, Motorola, and our finance agency that we're using to write the lease purchase agreement. So one of the things, there's still moving parts, but we've accomplished a lot of work in the last week. One of the things that they are requiring is that the board authorize the chairman, myself, and Karen White to sign the master lease agreement pursuant to a resolution in the whole master lease agreement. So, which basically sets out the authority for myself and Karen White to be the one signing documents, and Chairman Weber would be the one overall signing on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, stating that Troy and Karen have the authority to sign this document. So the motion that I asked you to take at your last meeting, it's just not sufficient for them. The good thing is, not big savings, but we had the interest rate is somewhere around 2.5%. So it looks like, I think our estimate was somewhere in 3.2%. So the annual lease payment is going to be a little less than what we projected. Nothing significant, but
It's always better than more.
A little bit better interest rate. So with that, I need to have a motion. Make it, I'll read it into the record if someone would recommend it. I move to adopt the radio communication project master lease purchase agreement resolution and to authorize Troy Brown and Karen White to sign documents listed in the master lease agreement and to authorize Chairman Weber on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to sign the master lease agreement resolution. And if you're interested in looking at the, it's like a 15-page document, which is the same document we've done for leasing other, like the plow truck and the pickup truck that we've used as purchases. That when they refer to the master lease agreement, that's the master lease agreement. So we opened up our master lease agreement, I don't know, probably 5 years ago. Okay. So it's just an addendum that they're adding to the master lease. Our credit already established.
Any questions, gentlemen?
None. This is just a continuation of what we discussed at the last meeting, right? It was just,
Correct. We gave authorization last meeting, but our meeting minutes are not sufficient for the
okay.
leasing company, so therefore they have a document that they need to have signed.
So it's, yeah, okay. So it's crossing our T's and dotting our I's.
Correct.
And
Okay.
So we just need
refresh my memory.
What's that, Mr. LaSalle?
Yes, refresh my memory. Who's the manufacturer on this?
So Motorola is primarily they're the ones providing all the equipment. Another company we use is Two-Way Communications, and I believe they're the ones that are sourcing. John Brunel's on this conference with us. I believe they're sourcing the metal for the towers, and they're doing the labor installing. There's two vendors, Motorola and Two-Way Communications.
Thank you.
So based on that, do we have a motion off of the recommendation for motion off of what Mr. Brown read?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Larry.
I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. Lynch.
Thought I was
Any further
left-handed.
discussion?
No, just keep us in the loop of what's going on. That's all I would ask.
Always.
Yeah,
I'll
when
get-
when everything gets approved, I'll definitely give you an update, let you know it's all approved.
Okay.
And I'll share a finalized document that's signed off from the financial institution.
Okay.
There's still work to be done, but it shouldn't have to come back to you guys again.
Okay.
We should be able to.
I'm sure as the project goes, we'll get milestone updates from the IT director.
Okay.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
Yep.
Was this put out to bid?
No, at our last meeting, we talked about, Mr. Brunel met with you, and we actually took some action to allow sole sourcing this equipment to Motorola and Two-Way, because the equipment is proprietary. It's really, I don't think there's another viable vendor that we can use for this project. And so the board had taken action to waive a certain section of our purchasing policy to allow this to proceed forward.
I also think Mr. LaSalle wasn't involved last year when we were talking about this and how the original number was significantly higher than what it is now. Maybe you can refresh, let him know, where we've gone with this. But Rich, I would say to you that, I think it was up around $100,000 or $150,000 higher than where it is now.
I believe it was at $950,000 was the first time we looked at it.
Yes, and Mr. Brunel has done yeoman's work in negotiating this down and getting it to where it's at now.
Is there a state price on this?
I don't think so.
So
I don't know, you there?
Yeah, I am, sorry.
Our IT director, Mr. Brunel, is with us.
Yeah, so we are getting what they would call the state price or the state bid. So Motorola is our current vendor today, so most of our subscriber equipment is all Motorola. Some of the newer things we put in is Motorola. That's why we're sticking with Motorola. Most agencies within the state of New Hampshire use Motorola. Two-Way is their implementation arm. That's their company that they go through to set it all up and install it and that kind of thing. That's why there's two partners or two companies. So it is state bid. It is sole source. Motorola is the only place you can buy Motorola gear. It's through Motorola. If you the original proposal I sent you, I think you see what they call a municipality discount, which is sort of the state bid discount for the price.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Okay, so roll call vote. Mr. Leary,
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's,
Aye.
Mr. Lynch,
Aye.
Mr. Pinciero,
Uh-oh. Is he muted?
lost his video. He'll be back.
Jack.
There he is.
There he is.
Mr. Pinciero.
Uh-oh.
There's nothing going on here.
Are you muted?
Oh,
You're
Yep.
off. There you are.
Okay, we can hear you now.
you ready?
Yep.
Yep, we're ready for your vote.
Yes.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0.
Some reason I went dead.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we lost your video there for a second.
Yeah.
Any other items, Mr. Brown?
I had down here Memorial Day Parade, but I know that right before this meeting, we had a briefing. Emergency Management Director,
Yes.
Police Chief, so I want to just give an update on.
So we had a resident reach out to us and came up with an idea of possibly having the Memorial Day Parade start at Hidden Creek Golf Course and go all the way down, I believe, to the high school or the fire station into that direction. So emails were sent out today to the Emergency Operations Committee for input, and it came back that it was not supported. As much as we'd love to do it for the community and that we think it's such a positive thing for the community, we're extremely concerned about social distancing. And on top of that, there's still two emergency orders that are in effect right now. One of them, the governor said there's no parades through March 31st. And the second one we have, I think it's emergency order number 40, which says there's no gathering of 10 or more people. You know, up to this point, we've been very consistent as a group, the emergency operations meeting, to follow the guidance of our state legislature and also the Department of Health and Human Services. So based on that, emergency operations group, we do not recommend having the parade as much as we would love to have the parade for our residents. But it was asked to bring it to the board and see what the will of the board is.
It was a very nice gesture. I believe it was Mr. Charbonneau that
It was.
submitted it, yes. And I mean, the guy does incredible things for the town. But I do think that.
And I think the
we should follow the
creativity
state.
throughout there too.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some creative parts of way of doing it, but police, fire, everybody came back and they just think it's too soon.
Yeah.
And plus we violate 2 emergency orders.
Well, that's never good.
Mr.
No.
Chairman, you said March 31st. Did you mean May 31st?
I'm sorry. Yes, I meant May 31st. Thank you for the correction, Rich.
He's right. It's going to be next year.
Well, there goes my parade.
You know, and we've kind of did the same thing when it came down to, you know, people wanted to have another fire truck parade to help, you know, morale in town. And then we had the Easter Bunny, which we were creative and found a way to let the Easter Bunny happy. Thank you to Chief Sergeant for coming up with that idea. So, you know, and trying to do everything we can to help with the morale with all the fire truck, birthday celebrations they go through, along with police with them. Unless somebody can come up with a great idea at this time, the emergency operation kind of not supportive of it.
Mm. Yeah.
If the governor were to retract his emergency order for parades, would we reconsider this?
I think we'd have to bring it back to the Emergency Operations Committee and see what their input is to it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest concern is just make sure we stay consistent to what we have done since day one.
According to tonight's news, there were 2 more cases that came down in Litchfield.
Yeah, that was over the weekend, but those are just active cases.
Yeah.
I'm not real concerned about those at this point, but
All right.
Okay.
So,
Now, I believe that the Historical Society, they're still going to do the flags on the gravestones, and they're still going to do the wreath ceremony. Is that correct, Mr. Larry?
that is correct, yes. But it's going to be just the people doing it. No fanfare or anything like that.
Because I mean, I think it's really important that we recognize the memory of these fallen soldiers for us. And, if we can't do something as a community, it'd be great if people individually could do something themselves,
Yep.
To honor the memory of all the great heroes of our country.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe Colonel Kelly Frazier and myself will be putting the wreaths at the library and the town hall in the river as well for the Navy folks. We've done it for a few years now. So
Thank you.
somebody will take a picture. It'll be on Facebook.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
I want to thank Mr. Charbonneau for the idea and for bringing it forth. And I really wish we could accommodate it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That is very thoughtful.
Any other discussion?
The only other thing I have here is, I'm sorry, on the parade.
Yeah, you can move forward.
You done with the parade?
I am.
Okay. The reopening plan, starting to hear discussion about our business communities taking very small steps towards reopening. And we've had conversations here at the town office about reopening, taking very small steps to do that. Terry and I have talked. Terry had come up with a plan for her staff. Really, that's where most of the customers are coming into the town office. And come up with a plan that on Monday, May the 18th, so it'll be from today, we would have all of our employees back to their morning schedule. But the doors would remain still locked. We accept customers in by appointment only. That being said, if someone were outside and we didn't have a conflict with appointment, we could still escort them. So, what we're trying to do here, at least for the remainder of May, is make no commitments for the month of June, but allow people, one individual at a time, come in, let them do that transaction, and maintain the separation from the employees, from customers. We'll disinfect the the lobby area when they leave, and then we'll allow another customer in. So at the same time, we'll have customers in our building department. There's also a lot of people right now, this time of the year, they're bringing in their paperwork for the veterans credits and the elderly exemptions and some of that stuff too. So building permits, obviously. Although they can apply that online, there's still people that need to come in and do that. With that being said, that's the plan going forward for at least the remainder of May. But it gets a little bigger than that, and we need to start having a conversation about when we're going to open up for having our public meetings. Because I'm getting committee chairs asking me when are they going to be allowed to meet here again, have meetings? What are the rules going to be for the general public? I don't have an answer for that this evening, but I will be working on a plan for the board to consider. And I know that the governor's office, I'm hearing, working with NHMA, they may be providing a little bit more guidance on how municipalities start reopening. But as of right now, they're so all you can do is use the general guidance that's out there. And it's all pretty good model.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, I think the plan starting on the 18th is a great plan. Terry and yourself came up with. I think it's a way of starting to get a little bit of normalcy back in here in a very safe way, letting some of our residents come in under appointments and doing it. And I think moving forward, we really can't do anything until we get guidance from the governor.
There's a lot to discuss. We'll have to be working. We've got our recreation department where pretty much all those facilities are shut down. And I think the month of June is that discussion we have to have about how we go ahead and reopen some of the facilities in small steps. I say a lot, but we've been contacted on the tennis courts. A lot of people want to play tennis. Tennis courts, one of those facilities where I think that if you're just playing, singles, then there's separation that can be maintained. People should be able to play safely.
There's a lot of town leagues that have the same, they're the same thing. They're really hoping the governor will come out and talk something about outdoor activities. When we're allowed to go back and, reestablish outdoor activities. So I think we're kind of in that whole boat. We're in a wait to see pattern. But as the weather gets nicer, people are going to want to spend more and more time outside. We have all play structures we need to look at.
No. Is it necessary to bring everyone back at the same time? And how are we going to segregate them?
Well, currently right now, at least on my side, everyone is, we're going to have to, we've been all working together throughout this whole process. So we've all been in the building, working together and maintaining the best of our ability, maintaining a good, safe distance. What hasn't happened is that we've had all the staff in the building at the same time. But at any given day of the week, we've had, at least on my side, we've had, like Donna's been there, myself, Karen, or we've had Heather, Karen, myself. Some days we've had Joan there. So we've had Peter, the building inspector, coming and going. So we really have, I would say, most days we've been, say, 70% capacity of our employees. I know that, I don't know if Terry's still on or not, but she's been having some overlap where Terry's been on her side and the two support staff has been in the office too at the same time. So that's been going on the last week and a half. So I think that I'm not concerned about it. We're going to obviously need to continue to promote good, healthy, safe, habits, and I think we've been doing a real good job at that.
Terry, could you speak to the town clerk side of the office?
The way we've been handling it the past few weeks is because we are in a smaller area. We're more condensed. Pat would come in the morning and she'd work from 8 to noon. Ann comes in and works from noon to 4. That way I'm in there all the time, but I'm in my office. So we're further, we're far enough away that there's no issues. I just have concerns with Pat and Ann being in that same area. I don't, but again, I don't know when we start this back up. I did talk to Captain Scotty today. We do have the plexiglass being installed. He ordered it. I don't, on the other side of the window. But like I said, it's like a fishbowl in there, and I just don't know if we should be back in or, and at what point we should be back in. My thought was, probably until the June 1st, keep with the, keeping Pat coming in for 4 hours and Ann coming in the other 4 hours. Just because they're, it is closer quarters on my side.
Definitely, they sit right next to each other.
Right. Troy had mentioned putting the plexiglass on the inside. I don't think that's gonna work. Because you're still sharing, the check validator, you're still sharing a cash register. And I just think that, like I said, 4 hours for one, 4 hours for the other, and they come in. I let them work out who wants to work in the morning and who wants to work in the afternoon. They do sometimes, if someone comes in at 4 o'clock, whoever's there will stay to finish up whatever needs to be finished. But I just don't feel comfortable yet throwing everybody in there. Or the two of them. There's usually two of us on every day anyway, because the phones have been very busy, running out and back and forth to the box outside. The box has been great, but the phone's ringing while someone's running out to the box or helping someone out at the box. So there has pretty much been two people, but we've been separated. If I bring everybody, if I bring both of them back, all three of us are in the fishbowl. So.
I think alternating schedule makes sense. We should always try to heat on the side of caution for our employees.
Right. Exactly. But again, I don't know when we move forward and put everybody back in there. I was figuring once they put the plexiglass out on the other side and we start getting all that situated, then we move forward. But I think right now it's working okay where there's two of us in the office, and it's just working better that way. And nobody has to worry.
I think a week by week is a great way to do it. What does everybody else think?
Terry, just a question.
Sure.
Do you, whenever your staff shifts, do you do some sort of decontamination in the building?
The girls, when they finish their shift, like when they finish their shift, yes, they have wipes that they wipe down their areas and the things that they've used. In the viewing area, we have Lysol. When we finish at the end of the night, we go out, we get the box, we spray down the box with the Lysol, we wipe everything down. Every time we finish with a customer, we come in, we use the hand sanitizer, we spray everything down. So yes, we have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're still getting a tax bill, right?
I'm still what?
Rich is still gonna get his tax bill.
Yes. Yes, he is.
So I just, I thought Terry and I had communicated about this, so I apologize, I guess. I didn't fully understand your plan, Terry. But on my side, the administrative officers, we're at the point now where, I'm very comfortable with my staff. I need staff.
But they're more separated over there too.
We're separated. Maintain, everyone has their own workspace. There's probably, in some cases, 10, 12 feet apart. We've got a lot going on, and having a reduction in staff time, a lot of extra work on all of them. And we need to start moving back towards full staff.
Troy, is there any state directive concerning municipal buildings?
Say that again?
Any state directive on municipal buildings?
No, there isn't. And my understanding is that there never has been. But, everyone has followed the same practice.
I mean, I really guess it really comes down if they're classified as essential or non-essential.
I know the DOT is still doing by appointment only as well.
Which I think is great, yeah.
Yep,
It's a very nice soft opening.
right.
We'd be doing the same thing. Coordination with clerk's office. Just in our work area, I think it's laid out a lot different than tax collectors area. Two employees are actually setting just a few people apart from each other. And that's why I had a conversation with Terry about actually plexiglass in between those two employees.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I mean, that little area there is pretty tight.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Terry. We greatly appreciate it.
All righty, thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Brown,
Terry.
anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Next on the agenda are selectmen reports. Mr. Larry.
No budget meeting until next week or the week after, I believe, the 26th maybe. That's all we got. We haven't had one in a while.
Okay, thank you. Mr. LaSalle's.
Nope.
Mr. Lynch.
Nope, I haven't had a meeting yet.
Mr. Pinciero.
Same way. We haven't had a meeting yet. I heard there's one coming up next month, though.
Okay, great. So from a rec commission standpoint, we did have a meeting. It looks like they're going to be pushing 2 projects to the capital improvement planning committee. One is for paving of the parking lot at Darragh, and the second is looking at the possibility of lights at Darragh Field also. So those are the 2 that will be rolled up to capital improvement. I think they're going to be on the docket. When's the next capital improvement? Is it
June 1st.
June 1st. So they'll be pushing those up. And eventually, after capital improvement gets all the way through it, we'll see the final recommendations from them to the Board of Selectmen. Since we had no other items removed from consent, we did have one other item of business, and that was the Parker Park. And I believe it was Mr. Lynch that brought that on. Kevin, would you like to speak to that?
Yep, that's the Pocket Park. A large pine tree fell down there, crossed the brook in 2 places. That's going to be taken out of there completely because in springtime, it's gone back up. It's going to flood out the area in there, or erode the brook worse. Okay, so I understand there was a price that they got on that, and that Kevin got. It has to be done. This is not a recreation area. This land is owned by the town itself. Okay, it's not a rec type thing. So I just feel that tree has to be taken care of and removed.
Are you talking
That's
about
all.
Brickyard?
Yes.
I was talking about Parker Park.
Which is in Brickyard.
Brickyard Brook.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Brickyard Brook, okay.
Brickyard Brook.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 trees there, Kevin. Are you talking about both? There are 2 trees, one pine.
Well, we get that out at the same time.
Okay. All right.
All right, Mr. Brown, can you get with Kevin Brown and maybe bring that to us at the next board meeting?
Well, we can. I'd have to take a look. I mean, again, the highway tree removal money that we have in our budget, which has been cut, is for dangerous trees that are standing, and we know that They're reported to us as dangerous. They have a potential of falling at any point in time. That's what those funds are for. Parker Park is a park, and so I don't know if it's the Recreation Commission or Conservation Commission that have access to funds to
Mhm.
treat it's already down. Not sure what, if there's any permitting that's required to work in a brook.
I can add to that. No, there's no permit required to pull a tree out of a brook that fell.
Correct.
And there's erosion control. Without that, that tree has to come out because if it's springtime, when it comes in there, it's going to flood. It's going to erode peninsula out of that brook and cause more flooding against the Route 3A side. Okay, it's going to erode the embankment there. Okay, because it's going to force itself around it. It's causing a dam. Right now, it's all right because the water's down. But we get high snow or something like that in the spring, it's going to be a problem. And Jack, you understand what I'm talking about there.
Yeah, I think the highway department could take it out himself. There's a thumb on the backhoe. All it would require is them to cut it into lengths and pull it out.
You got it. They'd have to chop it and pull it into length and just pull it out. Then you're right. The old way.
Well, they have the thumb on the backhoe, and the backhoe is extendable, so they can sit on the point and pull that out. That's not a big deal.
Yep. Madam, they're going to have to block off the road to work from that side because you can't get in there. Okay?
All right, thanks, Kevin. So Troy, if you could work with Kevin Brown and come up with a plan?
Sure.
Okay, greatly appreciate that. Okay, the next Board of Selectmen meeting was scheduled to be May 25th, 2020, but that is Memorial Day, so at this point it has been canceled. What we have done in the past is if there's enough information that needs to be, or actions that have to be taken, we could have a special meeting. But as of this time, our next meeting will be on June 8th, 2020. We do have one other item on the docket this evening. It's a non-public session under RSA 91A:3 2A, compensation of an employee, RSA 91A:3 2C, reputation, and RSA 91A:3 2I, legal advice. Do we have a motion to go into non-public?
So moved.
Seconded.
We have a motion by Mr. Leary. Roll call. Mr. Leary?
Aye.
Mr. LaSalle's?
Aye.
Mr. Lynch?
Aye.
Mr. Pinciero?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Motion carries 5-0-0. We are now in non-public. Thank you, everyone, for viewing, and be safe.
Yeah, be well.
So, Steve, I'll make you the host.